Our next presenter is Peter Dillon. Peter's the leader of the Sustainable Water Systems Program at CSIRO. Many of you will know Peter, and Peter's going to be talking about the managed aquifer recharge and stormwater use options, which most of you will know as the MARSUO project. And I might just ask speakers if they can stay close to the remote audio there so that we can pick it up rather than walking around, if that's all right.
Thanks very much, Doug. Okay, it's great to hear from Paul. Paul's been on top of this policy space for a long time, and it's one of the great features is to have people that are across the space and understand the issues in great depth. Thanks for that introduction. I don't think we're interested in supporting MAR in itself. MAR is a means to an end, and that end is improved stormwater and recycled water use, more cost-efficient supplies, increased water security. Importantly, and it's probably underemphasised so far, it's an integrator to connect across different sources of water and to break down the silos that Paul was talking about. So it actually increases competition in urban water supply and gives a great deal more flexibility in urban water management as well as in groundwater management. So I guess the challenges for this managed aquifer recharge and stormwater use options project, which was supported by National Water Commission and Goyder Research Institute, it's now housed within Goyder as one of the projects in its urban domain. There's plenty of opportunity. There's a lot of stormwater runoff in cities. There's a lot of investment in urban water infrastructure, as Paul said. Cost of stormwater harvesting does depend on suitable aquifers or dams for storage and can be considerably less than the costs of alternatives, so it does represent a source of economic efficiency for the future. And with water-sensitive urban design, that has impacts on both flood mitigation and the quality of stormwater runoff improves, and therefore putting water-sensitive urban design together with managed aquifer recharge makes a lot of sense for future cities. What treatment and water management is needed to make stormwater safe for potable supplies? Is it economic to invest in third pipe distribution systems to put that water around? Will the public accept potable use? So these are questions that need to be answered, and we were looking at answering those questions from a national point of view, but using hitting the ground at a local level and making extensive use of the huge investments that Salisbury and their partners have made in this area. So we've had Adelaide has been the perfect place for this sort of study because of City of Salisbury's work in this domain, giving us the opportunities to do measurements on existing systems. And they're the partners to this project, and I hope will see themselves within months as beneficiaries of it. The project objectives are to provide information methods to assess options for stormwater use in Adelaide, looking at safety, economics, environmental consequences, community acceptance, and to develop nationally transferable methodology to expedite safe and efficient uptake of the most valued uses of stormwater. For Russell, the next talk will be about wastewater or sewage effluent, but for this one it's all about stormwater. Project tasks and outputs. these are the 8 effective tasks of the project. The health risk assessment has been produced as a report that deals with public open space, third pipe and potable uses of stormwater. A preliminary risk management plan has been developed in association with partners and has just been published by Goyder. These are the G13/17 refer to Goyder reports, technical reports, which are on the web. They're available, freely available for everyone. To evaluate public understanding and acceptance, there have been 2 focus groups and 2 web surveys completed, and I think we've got the answers that we needed on that about public acceptance. And that's been the last survey is reported in that report, but the other material is coming out in journal papers. The net benefits, there's been the first economic comparison of options, including externalities, for a specific suite of, it ended up being 16 options at one site in the city of Salisbury. Infrastructure impacts. This report is about to emerge. It's currently with the steering committee for review. And that's looking at pipe biofilm and is it more expensive to operate stormwater systems than mains water systems, and how do you manage those? The options risk management has resulted in one draft report which is still going through the Blue Lake Management Committee for final approval. And there'll be an audit report by an externally commissioned consultant to look at the execution of the risk management plan by City of Salisbury for non-potable uses in Salisbury. Briefing to the South Australian Government was provided by Neil Power from Juna to the Minister back in November, and the satellite sites and methodology transfer reports are in preparation. And there'll be a workshop in April to present these results. It's a national workshop. We've got satellite sites in various places where data was available, so we're trying to demonstrate how the methods that are developed in this project can be transferable. But you've got these notes, so I'm not going to read them through. But basically, the economics are that the least cost option is public open space irrigation with aquifer blended with stormwater blended with recycled water. Second best option is potable supplies. But that's unlikely to occur because of current institutional arrangements. We have separate stormwater infrastructure systems and ownership to mains water supply systems and ownership, and the way in which those two systems are operated are such that the most economic, if these are the most economic options, the most economic options can't be implemented because of those institutional arrangements. Going down, public open space directly with stormwater, potable supplies directly via localised treatment plants, and then third pipe options. And there's debate because there's opportunities for further research to reduce the costs in that domain. And there's also these also take into account full costs. And where you've got existing infrastructure in place, the costings are different, and they're covered in the report as well. Okay, so let's just move on. The social side, stormwater emerged as an acceptable stormwater option by the community. They found it was the preferred option for augmenting Adelaide's drinking water supplies. They trust government-owned utilities to undertake such projects, but public information and consultation process would be required. People just don't want stormwater put in their mains. So on the health, infrastructure and satellite sites parts, public open space exposure controls were needed. So basically, there's very little, no treatment really needed. Third pipe, there was some treatment is required, and for drinking, some additional treatment. But none of these treatments are outside the realm of normal water supply operations. The risk management plan was prepared to comply with the Australian guidelines for water recycling. The infrastructure work has shown that the biofilm in the pipe rig is similar to mains water pipe rig. There's some more biodiversity. Maintenance costs are expected to be similar. And satellite sites show that the parafield stormwater is not atypical of Australian stormwater, so it'll be relatively easy to transfer results. I guess some of our communication outwards includes a workshop which will be running 12th to 14th of May here in Adelaide. It's run under the auspices of NCGRT. This will be about the 12th workshop that we've run in Australia on managed aquifer recharge. We do it in partnership with other people, including people like Russell Martin from AGT, who have got some of the complementary skills that need to be brought to bear so that people go away well equipped to be able to implement the knowledge that they gain. Okay, I better keep moving. Lessons? Well, aquifers are valuable. We can more than double the harvested volumes of stormwater by putting them into aquifers, and that reduces unit costs by something like a third to a half. Best commercial stormwater use options may not be the best commercial use of stormwater for any utility on its own, due to different drivers for different utilities. Policies are necessary to align commercial opportunities with the best and most efficient use of the resource. So that's a challenge for the policy makers amongst us. Capitalising on water supply opportunities for stormwater use options may require a more uniform form of water governance than exists in most states, which recognise the integration of existing stormwater and drainage mains distribution infrastructure with different ownership and different established financial arrangements. I think we really need to keep our eye on this one because as the move for privatisation in various parts of the water sector drives forward, we could easily end up privatising components of the overall water system, which makes it even harder to get integration across the urban water cycle. And the water safety aspects are manageable with the existing National Water Quality Management Strategy processes. The next step is to build processes that enable timely financial integration so that the highest value projects are supported. I think that's it. Our conclusions. How many more slides are there?
Have to really.
Yeah, I think we've got to finish here. Yeah. So, but these are getting down to fairly specific levels, but there's plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of opportunity. The Mount Gambier exercise will overcome a current dichotomy that the state is facing, that it's got higher standards for non-potable recycling than it has for potable recycling, and but the potable recycling is actually performing its job. We think that there's some more validation required of the aquifer treatment capability, particularly for pathogens, but the evidence to date would suggest that the aquifer is doing its job. All right. Yeah, and so some validation of pathogen removal processes in aquifers. I think this is it would fit quite well within the national validation framework, but it's not incorporated at this stage because it was seen as beyond the scope of the budget that was originally there. But that would really help us, because at the moment it's $100,000 a site to validate a new project.